Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
All right.
Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Briggs,
Here.
Cavalier,
Here.
Kressel,
Here.
Klatt, Menard,
Here.
Melby, Jurdy, Fisher.
Here.
Okay, this brings us to the regular agenda. We have one item tonight. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 3.01 is a resolution regarding the Crookston Community Swimming Pool repairs and infrastructure evaluations.
Thank you. Corky, you want to start us off, or?
Yes, certainly. What we have before us is a resolution to take some reserve monies which we've identified, Jake, myself, and Audrey, that could be potential resources to conduct three items at the swimming pool. One, the actual purchase of the actuators to be installed and repaired, not repaired, but actually replaced, so that the swimming pool could be opened. It's necessary that we have those. The pool is not functional at this point. In addition, there would be a structural engineer employed for a cost of approximately $6,500 to do the test that the facility study recommended on various items in the pool, including the walls, the rafters, and other portions. And then also an HVAC and plumbing engineer or workman to come and review those items as well, to make recommendations, if any, about what needs to be done for the pool to be able to identify again the extent of the difficulties that we're having with the pool that were identified in the facility study of September. As I said, we've identified resources that are available from reserve funds that have either not been spent or would not need to be spent this year. The major component would be the fund balance unreserved to pay for these particular items to be conducted. So the resolution is before you. Again, this is to be able to open the doors and then do more extensive studying on what further repairs and in what order they would need to be done.
I guess this question for Jake. Do we got a problem or some issues with our HVAC and plumbing out there? I guess I'm just curious, could we wait off with HVAC, excuse me, plumbing engineering evaluation, or?
Well, we had some little bit minor issues that we got taken care of. The biggest thing is just that heat pump right now that continuously goes with the system. So they recommended the HVAC engineer, so we wanted to bring them in. There's bigger issues with the piping. Those pipes are original, a lot of them. So for an HVAC plumbing engineer to come in to give us an idea of what we're looking at and possibly fix would be ideal. So that's why we put it in there.
Okay.
Will these evaluations address the outgassing issue of the chlorine gases?
I don't have an answer for that one. It wasn't specified in the quote that or proposal that I got back from them. So I can definitely find out for you, Tim, though.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have estimates on how much the actuators are going to cost? Because we've been talking 40,000, but like, do we have? like,
Yes,
exact
so we have two proposals with the HVAC, or not, sorry, the heat pump upstairs by the HVAC system is roughly $16,500. And then the one downstairs in the boiler room is $12,000, like $50, I believe, on the top of my head. So,
Okay, and then the rest is gonna be installation,
yeah,
probably.
yeah. So yeah.
Any further questions? Guess we call for the vote?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
Yes.
Sure.
Let me, okay, the
So we have-
motion, got a motion by Tim and second by
Don.
Don?
You're doing.
Okay, further discussion. Thank you.
I know, I can't beat you.
My name's Bob Blazik. I've been a community member since 40 years now. I bought my house 39 years ago, so I've been a taxpayer in Crookston for 39 years. I know the school district owned the pool up until about, was it 13 when the city got it? You know, 8, 10 years ago, the city got the pool, correct?
No,
No, actually, it'd be closer to 5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over that time, there's been a ton of money dumped into that hole. And that's what I call it, it's a hole. It should be shoved in a long time ago. It's like pouring water down a gopher hole. You just keep putting money down, money down, money down. It's not going to help. The moisture migration, about 15 years ago, they spent over $200,000 to take care of moisture migration going through the walls. The next winter, they had the same problem again. So me as a taxpayer, I'm all in favor of just shutting that place down and being done with it. Don't spend any more taxpayer money on it. I know you're looking at $54,000 that's in your budget that you can do all kinds of tests on and then figure out what should we do. Well, there's another $54,000 that went down that hole as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion, and I've talked to a number of other people in town here that aren't here right now to speak, but there's a lot of common knowledge out there. It's just they don't want to spend any more money on that pool. Thanks for your time.
I guess too, you know, once we get a quote from SEH on structural engineering and even the HVAC and plumbing, I just feel that that'll give us direction whether to mothball it or get a new one. I guess it's kind of a catch-22 as far as, you know, spending $54,000 on getting this pool up and running so it can be usable. You know, it's, you know, who's saying, you know, this may work for a long time, who's saying we may not have issues next week, next month.
Yeah, that's the catch-22, like you say, Dale.
So, you know, it's council's kind of decision of whether we kind of move forward, I guess. I guess I've heard feedback on both sides, you know, that it should try to get it open and operable, and then same with the other side of the coin that you mentioned, and also, I've heard from a few that, you know, that they think it's a good idea to get a structural engineer and see what our issues are, you know, but, I think the, rough estimates right now, it's quite large, and that's something that we're gonna have to deal with in the future.
Yeah, the point of this is to just get the data that we need so that the council has the facts and move forward. This is not the decision at this time, just, so we have a better picture of what that might cost.
I've had a few talk kind of the same way, you know, that keep putting money into it and then having more problems, and then I've had some that said that take it down and put up a new one. For the money that spends, that this could last 5 years or whatever, when you put up a new one, at least that's good for.
I think,
Ask me one favor. I've watched council meetings on YouTube. When you speak, get closer to the mic because on YouTube, you barely hear anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I think from what I've heard, you know, most people are feeling, you know, kind of the same way he is, but putting money into that one, but everybody feels that Crookston needs a pool. One way or the other, we need to figure out, it's a good thing for Crookston. It's, you know, if it's in combination with the school or something else along down the road, a new one, where it's at. There's a lot of different decisions that to be talked about, but they also don't feel that we should stick, like you're saying, money down a hole, you know, so we need to figure that out. But I've had a lot of people talk to me about it, and everybody thinks, and I do too, I think Crookston needs a pool. at some point in time. Is it this one? We don't know, but.
Further discussion? Okay, call for the vote, please.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that's the only item. Special council meeting is adjourned. We all be having a Ways and Means in a couple
you,
minutes
Bob.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Monday, June 5th, 2023. We have one item tonight on the agenda, and it's street assessment discussion. Supposed to be like Corky, you lead off again?
What we have here is a discussion for all of you to be made aware of the bid that we received for the proposed street repair reconstructions. There was a plan, there were a number of potential streets in the city of Crookston to be reconstructed. We did receive the one bid. We want you to be aware of that. That was in your packets. And have a discussion about what, if any, street repairs we should do regarding each and every one of these. Brandon has some information for us regarding, there's various options. You can select do none, do all, select out. As we've discussed this, given the nature of the bid and given the bid that we did receive, strongly consider rejecting the bid and then rebidding certain components of that. Is that accurate, Brandon? So, discussion about that, questions based on the information you have. I mean, you know that the estimate given by our engineer was $2,061,000. The only bid that we received was $2,796,705 for all of the projects. As you're aware, Alexander was torn up last year. It remains torn up. It's the recommendation of Brandon, myself, and Audrey, our finance director, that we consider rebidding Alexander, and then also getting a bid for the water main on Houston. So one consideration is rejecting the bid we received, but rebid for just those two components. Do you have questions?
Is it a possibility that it could end up higher?
Always have possibilities, sure. One thing I think you should be aware of is we do have the pipe and the materials for the Houston project. That would not be assessed because we already have that. Could the Alexander be higher? Sure, that's a possibility.
What was the completion date if, let's say, we did these projects? I guess, you know, because we only got one bid, really, and I was wondering if that came into play because of the completion date.
It may have a little bit, but speaking with the contractors, Zavril, you know, their big thing when they called, they said, I don't know if we can find a concrete subcontractor. Well, they ultimately did, but if you look at it, the unit prices for all the concrete work were very, very high. That's really what drove it so high over my estimate. Just those 5 really line items. I did, after that bid opening, I did speak with the other contractors just to inquire why they didn't bid on it. Davidson, for example, they said their underground crew was busy and they couldn't find anyone to do the water main replacement on Houston. So that's why they didn't bid on it. They didn't say anything about the concrete work, so they must have had a concrete person that could have done it. Others were just, well, I guess Spruce Valley, I guess they're one that did say that, you know, the timeline was a little tight for them. I mean, they're doing our Ag Innovation Road and they got the campground project as well here. So that kind of, so I guess to answer your question, for one contractor anyway, the August 31st completion date probably was a factor.
I guess, you know, in the past, we always had later completion dates, and, you know, with these contractors, Crookston is kind of a smaller number in road construction versus maybe bigger jobs they have, so they try to
Correct.
fit it in.
Right.
So, I mean, if we're gonna rebid this, do we even put in a completion date, just have it done before the snow flies, or?
Well, I would recommend it on October 15th, which is darn close to, you know, the snow flies. And, you know, speaking with the others that didn't bid on it, they said, yeah, if you could bump the completion date back, you know, we're looking for things to kind of fill our at the end of the year for us. So, you know, I would suspect we would get more than just one bid by rebidding. I suspect we'd get lower prices because we'd have more concrete people other than just this one bidding on it. So, yeah, I guess, you know, that'd be my recommendation. I guess, and our recommendation would be to reject the bid, rebid it with Alexander and get the water main in place. And like Brandon said, it's always beneficial to get that water main in the ground, let it settle over the winter before you start reconstructing a road on top of it, so.
So my final question is, okay, you know, we rebid these and, you know, instead of October 15th, maybe have the completion date even 2 weeks later? Is that
Good.
So maybe you'll get more bites on,
Yep, we certainly could.
I mean, because it's already June 5th,
Yep,
and time you get this out and bid it again.
yep, we kind of worked through the timeline in our meeting there, and we'd be opening like July 6th would be the date we'd shoot for, you know, and yeah, you got a couple of weeks of contracts there. So yeah, they'd be starting late July, early August. But, you know, Alexander isn't a huge project. All the underground is essentially done, so it's
Right.
basically coring it out, putting it back. You know, and Houston would just be the water main replacement, so.
You okay, Brandon, about going end of October, or you still like that 15th cutoff?
Yeah, it's fine with either. You know, the reason I believe we pushed the deadline up a little bit was there was some dismay a couple, 3 years ago of, you know, the problem with pushing it back is we got to understand that if you get into a difficult weather fall, wet fall, that it is a possibility that the street might not be completed. And it's not the end of the world if it doesn't get completed, but when you extend that deadline that late in the season, it just opens the door for a wet patch that might put you into the following season. So
Okay,
I think the 15th is I think if they're gonna bid on it, the 15th or the 31st, I mean, is that 2 weeks gonna, there has been Halloweens that it's snowed pretty heavily on too, so, but it usually still goes away, but then it dries slower during that season too, so, I'm fine with either. I mean, I think with the prices we got, it would be irresponsible to move forward with any of these projects anyways, so,
And we did spend quite a bit of time talking about that concrete, the three of us, and also that date. We talked earlier, we talked later, and came to this conclusion that the 15th seemed to be the best date
yep.
to get the best and most bids.
And you're talking with all of them, you think we should rebid every one of them, just because of the date thing, or?
Well, I honestly think we should bid Alex and the water main on Houston, and then, I think we should try and get our bids out in February of next year. I'm not. Or earlier, and I'm not so sure coming into, I was trying to get the new assessment policy in place before we got too far, and I might have got a little bit too late this year to where contractors had all their work lined up already. So, because who bid Deep River 2 weeks before? Agassiz bid their street improvements, and it came in pretty close to the engineer's estimate. So, I think it's a combination of maybe being a week, 2 weeks too late, and everybody's running into the same issues trying to find labor. So it's just a trickle effect.
but we've had that discussion in the past too, trying to get these bids out earlier, street bids, in the spring or early spring or.
But yeah, we had that discussion as well in our meeting. And the projects that we don't do this year, we could carry over if we want, in the next year, well, the plan is already done. So that would give us the advantage of getting these plans out for bids in November, December, for next year. And that would get us ahead of the game. And I've kind of always said that, but it's just with our process, we always get late in the fall, and by the time we get things designed, it's just kind of the way it's been falling in there. But I'd sure like to get into a process if we could make some decisions earlier and get the plans done and get them out earlier,
And we talked about that in our meeting. If we drop it back and get the plans out in December or January, now we're back onto that cycle.
Yep.
Instead of being in March or later, we will cycle it from when we put these bids out, because we do have the plans. They're all ready to go. And that's a better cycle for us as a city. As the mayor said, we're not the biggest projects, but if we get them out earlier,
and that's,
they have better luck.
and that's typically what the counties and the state try to do. I mean, you've seen the states, they're planning a project 5 years out. Well, by the time that project comes around, they've had it designed for a year and a half, and they're just waiting to put it out for bids. So when they do put them out, they're first in the queue when people are bidding on them, and people are looking to fill their schedule. So
And if
I'd
we
like to
have
try to
these
get that.
designed now, then the next design cycle will hit the same thing, we'll get them earlier.
Right.
So then I guess basically, moving forward, trying to get these, street bids out earlier, but also maybe just stick with the October 15th deadline. Since
And we could, when it's rebid, we could maybe set the Alexandria an interim completion date, so we're not waiting till October 15th to get Alexander paved. We could say we want that one done by September 15th, and the water main replacement can be October 15th, or something to that line, along that line. Just something to maybe think about. Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know, I guess personally, I'd like to stick with the October 15th because
That's
it's already the 5th.
Yep.
By the time we get them out, it's 1st of July, and then, you know, you start giving them conditions for a completion date. It might be
Sure.
back in the, where we're at right now.
Yep, no, it's a good point.
Further discussion? Well, I'd may like to make the consensus is that we bid Alexandria and then bid the water main replacement on Houston, is what I'm thinking.
I agree.
So as I understand it, your recommendation as the Ways and Means to the council, reject the bid, which we received, and then call for rebid or a new bid for Alexander Street, reconstruct, and the water main on Houston. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yep.
And
So,
do we have to put the October 15th in there?
We'll put the October 15th deadline.
Yes.
Sounds good.
We can create a resolution for that for Monday.
Okay. Very good.
Yep.
Very- Agreement?
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I guess nothing else. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Very good.